Every time we click on timeline now item, while being on the timeline page, we are about to be scrolled to the current timeline hour, as we can see. So this will be one of the testing scenarios that we are going to write in this lesson. Let's switch over to the editor, duplicate one of the existing tests, and change the description of the new test. Here we'll say that it should scroll the page to the current timeline hour if we're gonna click on the timeline now item only when timeline page is open. Now, before getting to the test implementation, let's see how all this logic is implemented. So inside now item component, we're seeing that we have a click listener registered on this A element. And that means once we're gonna click on the now item, this handle click function will be executed. Here we see ternary expression, and when this whole condition will become true, we're gonna call scroll to current hour function, which is going to scroll the page to current timeline item. So in order to test this whole behavior, we need to control this expression to make it true. Here we are using current page reactive variable, so we need to assign proper value to this variable in order to make this whole expression become true. And then we can easily make sure that scroll to current hour function will be called. We're going to use spy for it. So to get access to this function, we're going to group all the experts of timeline items module under timeline items name right here. And once we have that, we are ready to create the spy. Right here, let's create new spy with the name scroll to current hour spy and specify proper parameters. So we are spying on scroll to current hour function from timeline items module. And right after rendering now item component, we're about to do the action, which is gonna lead to page being scrolled. So we have to click on the A element. I'm gonna call trigger method to fire click event like this. And when we wanna check spies, we usually have two expectations. I'm gonna copy these expectations from another test. In here, let's change the name of the spy in these two expectations. And we are saying that this function that we are spying on is supposed to be called once with a particular argument. In this case, the argument should be true. I'm gonna specify this value right here. Now, as we have reached the end of this testing scenario, it's time to restore all mocks by calling restore all mocks method like this. The test is passing, but if we're not going to click on any now item, we expect the test to throw an error, and it does. Or if we're going to change the argument with which scroll to current hour function has to be called with, in this case we're also going to get a test failure. So this test works. Let's move on to defining the next testing scenario. In this scenario, we're going to test that the second part of that ternary expression is executed, specifically that navigate function is called. And we are going to mimic the following behavior. Once we click on another now item, we're supposed to be redirected to that page. To do so, we have to initially be on another page. And by the way, since we have to create the spy for navigate function that is exported from router module, we first of all have to group all the exports of the router module and then create the spy for the function navigate from this module. First of all, let's add a description saying that it navigates to the corresponding page and click. And then let's group all the exports from the router module under router name like this. And whenever we are referencing current page variable from this module, now since we have imported the whole module, we need to reference this variable via module name. So I'm going to prepend module name router to any references of current page variable in this file. And now we are ready to create spy for the navigate function. Let's do so right here. Specify proper function name as well as proper module name. And then before mounting the component, we firstly have to emulate the case when another page other than timeline item will be open. So, for example, let's make activities page active. And then down here for the second expectation, where we are checking that navigate function will be called with a proper argument, we will firstly take a look at which argument gets passed into navigate function. Looks like we're passing the page name that we fetch from the nowItem prop. But in our component, the nowItem object that we pass as a prop is called timeline nowItem, so we can reference page field on this object like this to receive timeline page name. And we are seeing that all expectations are passing, but if we will not do any clicks, they will fail. Or if we, for example, remove this argument, we also get the test failure. And before finishing this lesson, let's just do a little refactoring. So, mounting nowItem component takes up several lines, and we can extract this whole logic into a separate function that we can reuse. So I'm going to create new function with the name shallow mount timeline nowItem. And then we're going to return the result of mount. And now that we have this function, let's just reuse this function in all tests. And sometimes we can even combine mounting of the component with doing an action on one line, like this. Let's do the same in the last testing scenario. And after we are done with all that, let's run all tests in a project and finish this lesson.